Warning: the views and opinions expressed in this program are our own and/or those of our guests. They do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of our employers. Viewers' discretion is advised.
Just going to the conference, showing up is not enough.
Ultimately, it's all about who's going to be there and what can I contribute to and get out of it.
And everybody talks about it. Our world is small. If you make a mistake there at these shows, they will haunt you.
Be very careful about the ones that you select to go through because a lot of them will be wasting your time.
Promise I'm not being petty. I'm the one they envy, Brody, moving state to state. Make $1 million out to send me, plus I grind it from the start. I was stacking pennies, I might dip like Machiavelli. After the confetti, who ready? We ready? Who ready? We ready? Who ready? Who? We ready? Who? Who ready? Who? We ready? Who? Who ready? We ready? Who ready? We ready? Who ready? Who? We ready? Who? Who ready? Who? We ready? Who?
Fun fact. So my microphone just like fell off my desk as soon as I got in here. And I don't need headphones because I can hear Alan, just so everybody knows. I could hear him from my lap where the headphones were.
You could hear him from Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, we don't need headphones. Oh my God, that's so funny.
Emily, you've got a tan or something. Did you go somewhere?
I just live up at my camp like a scumbag.
Okay.
I got a camp up on Ontario Lake, and it's with beach access. And then my aunt and uncle have beach access, so I just...
Ontario.
I know. If you Google Southwick Beach, it's like
I don't
11
want to.
miles. Why?
I'm just messing with you, Em.
Shut up, Ryan.
I'm just giving you shit.
Mr. Honesty here. Mr.
You're in for it this episode.
I'm in a mood,
for
man.
it.
I am in a mood.
I don't want to.
Is it the shirt? Is it the bourbon? Is it the green jacket? What we got going on? Hey everyone, welcome back to the BDO Show, a podcast for passionate BDOs wanting to level up their game with advice and stories from battle-tested BDOs. And by the way, we are the #1 podcast for BDOs out there. I'm your co-host, Emily Detour. I'm here with my fellow co-hosts, Chris Hackney, Ryan Kroge, and Alan Peterson. Before we go ahead and start, I always want to remind you guys to like and subscribe and go ahead and share this with your friends, your family, your coworkers, and anybody. And go ahead and submit your topics to the BDO Show at artofsba.com. Okay, BDOs, it's story time. And no, I am not talking about the time Sterling tried to finance a zoo. You'll have to go back to episode 3 for that. I'm talking about the story that your borrower has in their head, and they may need that extra boost to finally get it onto paper. Rapid Business Plans is a known and trusted partner that can help them do just that. Whether your borrowers are working towards acquiring a business, starting one up, or expanding and making moves, within just a few short days, Rapid Business Plans will deliver powerful, fast, SBA and USDA ready business plans with projections and assumptions. If they need an export business plan for an ITL loan or a feasibility study, they have you covered there too. We know this process is not a walk in the park, or should I say zoo. Let the Rapid Business Plans team take some of the wild out of the process so that your borrower's vision and passions can come to life. For more information or to get acquainted, email Bethany McClellan at bethany@rapidbusinessplans.com or click the link in the show notes. All right, everybody. Today we are going to talk about, which will probably get fun immediately. We're going to talk about, well, it'll be fun and educational because we have a lot of stories. The conference trail, how to determine the right trade shows to attend and how to handle them when you get there. Why don't I start with, because where we met, actually, me and Chris, we met at a veterinary trade show in Orlando. Let everybody know, a new BDO, everybody should know what's a conference, what's a trade show, what is the purpose of them, and what you can expect when you're there, other than making friends.
Oh, that's what we are. Got it. Conferences.
Wow.
Conferences. So conferences are obviously a place where it can be either an industry trade show, meaning it's catered to veterinarians or insurance agency owners, and you're attending as a banker helping that industry. There's also another type of conference where it's for your industry, catered to loan brokers or business brokers, people who buy and sell businesses. when you're assessing what type of conference it is, obviously you can just research it on your own. It's important to assess who else is going. Is it a vertical focus? Is it industry focus when you're making that decision? A lot of business can be sourced from conferences, but the most important thing, and I'm sure we'll get to it later, is the things you do at the conference and what you do after the conference. Just going to the conference, showing up is not enough. So we've established that baseline for the episode today. Just packing your bag, your floral roller duffel bag, taking it to Vegas and showing up.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
That is just the start. There's a lot of different strategies to make yourself successful as a conference attendee, and we're going to discuss that today. So maybe we start with Emily. I'll leave it up to who you want to start with, but about different things to consider when choosing a conference.
Yeah, definitely. There's the question right there is, what factors do you consider when deciding which trade shows or conferences you attend? Why don't I give this one over to Alan? Because again, you can go to all of them, but what's the return? So you have to kind of weigh that all.
It's a lot too. I mean, once you are established and you have a good pipeline, you have to remember, I mean, you're out of office, and if you're doing the conferences the right way, you're busy during the daytime. You're doing things, but to select what conference you attend, for me, it's all about obviously the attendees. Who is my audience? Who do I want to be in front of? Who do I want to collaborate with? From there, there's everything from state level to regional to national conferences that span the different sort of categories that Chris identified earlier in the episode. For me, there's some that I'm always going to go to. And I would be, disingenuous if I didn't also admit that sometimes a conference being a little bit of fun and knowing who's going to be there that I don't get to see all the time adds a little value as well, right? Like the Murphy Business Conference, the educational conference in Clearwater. We get a lot out of that. It's really great to interact with those folks, but also it's every year I get to see a lot of our friends there. Ryan, I know you come in for that one. Shout out Ryan Collins, America's sweetheart. He'll be at that one. And, we get to do our thing, but we get to get meaningful interaction, but I want to be there. Why? Because it's people that are selling businesses and I finance business acquisition. So it's a natural fit. There's other conferences that span from, industry specific ones are very educational, which is awesome. So I like to go there to be updated on the latest and greatest. But ultimately, it's all about who's going to be there and what can I contribute to and get out of it.
Also, you want to consider who else is attending, like peers and competitors. If I'm going to a conference and I know First Internet will not be there, Ryan and Alan, I'm questioning, man, why aren't they going? Or if I see a conference and I know the top 5 of the top 10 SBA lenders are going to be there, it's probably a conference that's of value too. So that may seem a little bit counterintuitive. But also there's a level or a threshold where there's too many banks. There are conferences that I won't name where it's a relatively small, intimate conference. And, there's more bankers than, brokers or attendees. And it's like, well, I'll just hang out with Ryan and Alan, I guess, for a couple of days too. So you definitely want to assess through the conference coordinators who's come in, who's attended in prior years, how many attendees are there, and assess those ratios when you're making a decision about attending. And also monitoring your ROI is something, unfortunately, we just started doing over the past few years, where we track it in our LOS, in our system, in our CRM. When you go to a conference, tag that conference when you get a deal sourced from it. And then at the end of the year, we pull a report. Okay, we got $3 million from this conference, $4 million from this conference, 0 from this conference over the last 3 years, never going back to that conference again. You should be tracking that at an individual level for you as a broker, and your bank should be tracking it for the entire team.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Maybe we should start doing that. That's phenomenal. I've only started going to conferences maybe in the last 5 years, maybe since 2018. Prior to that, I really had no need to. When I started,
like that.
Well, because I was local, I didn't have to go to national conferences because I was not a national lender. When I first started my career, I was working for smaller institutions. I was working for community banks. Now, I was the SBA person for these whole community banks, so I would have to go, not have to, but I would go to NAGL every year just so I would stay on top of SOP and things like that. But that would be the only conference I ever went to. Otherwise, it was all local trade shows. And the majority of the time, if it was a local trade show, I was usually doing some type of a speaking engagement or something of that nature. Because again, when I first started, it was literally me and maybe one other person in the entire state of Michigan who specialized in SBA lending. So there was really no need for me to go on a nationwide conference. And then when I joined Huntington in 2009, well, they weren't a national bank. They did not do SBA lending on a nationwide footprint. So I was all, again, local. I was all Southeast Michigan. That's all I had. So I stuck to, wow, I was going to say, I was going to quote a song. I don't think I'm going to do that. But I wanted to
Do it.
The rivers and the streams that you're used to.
Yeah, you already knew what I was going to say.
Oh, wow.
Another gray hair just popped out of that red beard of yours.
Ah, man, I knew as soon as I was going to say that Em was going to have something to clap back at me.
Good.
And so yeah, every episode I'm catching shots. But yeah, so I would do local trade shows. I would do the funeral shows. I would do the tooling shows, because here in Metro Detroit we have a lot of manufacturers, a lot of tooling shops, and so I would go to the MERS Cats, all the big vendors that sold CNC machines and things like that, because I knew tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers would be there, and those are the people that I wanted to talk to about financing that type of large machinery. I would go to specific medical practice trade shows as well locally. But it wasn't until I stepped onto the national platform and realized how valuable it was if I ever wanted to step out of my little, town of Detroit here and actually try to go nationwide, that I needed to go to these conferences. I needed to go to these business broker conferences. At the time, I was going to commercial real estate conferences, just so that I can meet with nationwide brokers or localized brokers in other markets, so that I would be able to generate business across the country. And obviously that's where I ran into guys like Al and Chris and Sterling and Emily, is at these different conferences, because we're all doing the same thing. And so now I've got, literally right over my right shoulder here, I've got all the lanyards that I've collected over the last 6 years from all the conferences that I've been to. And I'm with Al. I go to conferences that every single year that have always been fruitful. I track them myself. I've got a stack of cards, and the cards that I don't get any responses with after 6 months, I throw away in the garbage. The ones that I get responses and start doing business with, I start marking them and having them in a hierarchy. So I know, hey, I met so-and-so at this conference. We developed a great relationship, and now I'm consistently getting deals from this individual. This is a worthwhile conference. And because of that too, utilizing these conferences, not just to meet additional referral sources, but sometimes this is the only time that if you're doing nationwide deals where you get to meet your out-of-market referral sources face to face. This is where you get the FaceTime.
I love when they come up to the booth and they're like, is Ray
yeah.
here? Or Emily, nice to meet you. Chatted with you online. I'm like, it's so nice to meet everybody in person. Love it.
Absolutely. And I like to throw on LinkedIn, hey, I'm going to IBBA or CLBA this weekend. We're going to be in booth number 68, +1, and just, come on and take a see us. And then I'll start getting texts and emails. Oh, dude, I'm going to be there too. Let's go grab some dinner. Let's talk about this deal I want to send your way. Absolutely. That's part of the reason, another reason to go to these too, to just reconnect with existing referral sources. So it's definitely good to keep your network going.
And just for anybody new to the conference scene, these conferences get planned a year and a half in advance. As soon as they're done with that one, the planning team is already working on the next one. And so you have an opportunity to start preparing a year in advance. You can talk with your lender and figure out what type of sponsorship level you want to go in at. A lot of people hold the same sponsorship level every year because it's just worth it, or they're the lanyard sponsor, they're the poker tournament sponsor, or they are a brochure sponsor, a charging station. There's a lot of things you can do to sort of get your name out there on the floor and move it around just organically. Obviously the brochures are going to be everywhere. The charging stations, the lanyards are going to be in every photo. So Chris, given that we have about a year leading up to these conferences, and then we really start to get down to the nitty gritty right around that 6 month to 3 month lead up before the conference starts, what type of things can new BDOs and even seasoned BDOs work on leading up to these conferences for through LinkedIn or emails? What's your approach there?
Yeah, you definitely want to increase your brand like awareness or your impressions. So start posting on LinkedIn some recently closed loans. If you know you're going to a business broker show, maybe you want to do 2 recently closed loan templates a month instead of 1, right? And then you want to say, hey, I think Ryan mentioned it. I'll be at this conference in the next couple months. Hope to see you there. Or if you're gonna message me if you're gonna be at the same conference. Another thing that I like to do is reaching out. Conferences are a good time to deepen relationships. I think a lot of times people think of conferences and getting new business from people you don't know, but I like conferences for seeing the same people I've always worked with and just diving deeper and building on that relationship to get even more business from them. So a lot of times I'll set up dinners in advance. If I know XYZ business broker will be, hey man, we're going here, we're in Vegas. I got space for 8 at this steakhouse. I'd love to have you and a few of your people there, right? And set that up in advance because there's Vegas, you got a captive audience. Oh, hey, I'm going with Chris this night. And you've got them for an extra 2 hours or so at that dinner table outside of the trade hall where it's just they're talking to a number of different bankers. So that's one pro tip is try to set up dinners. When I was doing a lot of veterinary lending, I would host an opening night dinner. Actually, Emily, the conference where I met you, actually walked right past me and, didn't even say hello, but
I'll do it
I
again.
made it past that.
I'll do it again. Did it once and she'll do it again.
She'll do it twice. But I started setting up and hosting a opening night conference dinner just outside of the venue at this nice Italian restaurant. And it grew to like 15 to 20 veterinarians at the point where I had to cap it at capacity. And I remember one veterinarian was like, hey, I'm referring you this vet so I can come to your dinner because it's always so fun. And it was just a way to dive deeper on relationships. So you can always just make sure you reach out to the people that you already know that will be there to try to dive deeper with them and connect with them, set up some happy hours too, try to get time with those people that normally you're trying to get them on the phone. Now they're going to be there in person and kind of captive in that same space. So try to get them outside of the convention hall in a restaurant or a bar or coffee shop, wherever to, spend some time together.
What kind of lead up do you do, Alan? I can only imagine what comes out of your mouth in these emails.
Well, what I try to do is I do a mix of what Chris identified, but I also try to leverage that for new connections. So I'll determine people that are going to be where I'm going that I want to connect with, people that I don't know yet, right? Then what I'll do is find folks that I'm already kind of comfortable with or have a relationship with, and I'll ask them, hey, let's definitely get together. By the way, can you grab those other 3 brokers that are in your office? I haven't had a chance to connect with so-and-so yet, and try to leverage that warm lead. Because after all, I mean, to Chris's point, it's going to be a nice dinner. It's going to be a fun time. And I'm already going to have you come. Why not bring some of your associates along with you? So that's kind of like a main thing that I'll do. And then also like when I'm planning on one that I know it's going to be busy, I try to figure out ways to kind of stand out. Don't forget your business cards. Even if you have digital ones, there's still some folks that want to case that paper. Digital ones are awesome. The digital business cards are, in my opinion, far superior. But the paper ones still work, and there's still an opportunity to drop them in fish bowls for drawings and all this sort of thing. But like even this jacket, right? I actually found this jacket from a guy named Vegas Al, who I've never been in the same room as. But Vegas Al has made a lot of long-term relationships from the conference trail. Quite honestly, just go into a restaurant that is totally always awesome. Or what is it?
Tao.
Yeah, even though Tao, totally awesome always. TAO.
All the way.
And
Don't worry about it.
always awesome. And that kind of silly stuff. It's funny because people go, we had a good time and we got to connect. And honestly, I made some awesome friends that I'm still tight with just with the trade show trail, man. It's a really special thing.
Yeah, business cards are huge, and people are starting to get away with them. They want the whole digital here's my contact now, it's in your phone, which I get. It's great, it's convenient, and I'm going to
go old man with you, and I'm going to tell you I like the paper business cards better.
Mm-hmm.
Paper business cards, you can never get away with you can never go away from having something tangible, having it in their hand when you are done with the conference. And I still have This stack here from the last conference I went to that I still go through. Again, it's my hierarchy. Who's talking to me? Who's answering the phone? Who's not answering the phone?
Yep.
I still have the hierarchy right here. And you know that referral sources, business owners, they're doing the same thing. It's like utilizing your wallet, utilizing your credit card. All credit card companies have one thing in common is their priority is to be front of wallet. And if you can be front of wallet with your business card by having one and then continuing to follow up and building on that relationship through these conferences, you'll always be front of wallet with your business card.
I like that.
I was going to ask you guys, but I had a quick story. So we were chatting about, Chris was talking about setting up dinners. Last year, do you remember how we started with Transworld and it led right into IBBA, like that long, like 5.5 day. That was going to be my next question, was on managing your energy during these events, especially when they're back to back like that. Cause it happens to us. We're on plane to plane, traveling with a booth, all of our stuff we got. We decided to set up dinners. Ray reached out to all the BDOs at our previous lender and was like, invite 5 brokers, and whatever spouse that they brought with them, possibly, because we know that they travel with sometimes. So 5 people you either have a great connection with or want to have a better connection with. And so we set up rides. I set up a private dinner at the back of the Hampton Social, and I didn't have anybody to bring. So I'm literally walking around the show, and Tom Koba from Murphy was like, hey, what do you guys got going on for dinner tonight? And I'm like, I don't have a +1. Come with us. So he came to dinner. Got Tom Koba at the dinner. We got all these brokers. We got the wives are telling stories. It was like, not only was there business, it was just like, everybody felt like a huge family at that point because we were all chatting. People who were in different states, wives were chatting with wives. Like it was such a good experience. And yeah, you have to spend a little bit more to do something like that, but it was a lasting impression and we knew for sure. So the question I was going to ask was managing your time and energy during the event. There's alcohol. There's different time for zones we're in, especially in Vegas. There is different flight times you have to try to catch. How do you, Chris, when you leave, by the time you leave Tampa and get to the show, boots on the ground, how do you manage your energy running around these events, having the dinners, the people, the conversations? I lose my voice 100% of the time. All you guys have heard me lose my voice because we talk so much. So what do you got? What kind of advice do you have for that?
Yeah, you want to save your energy for the moments that you're best at. So for me, I don't win a lot of business or deepen a lot of relationships in a trade hall, right? It's incandescent light, it's loud, there's tons of people. I'm never going to like build rapport with someone in a trade hall. So I know, hey, at the bar, at the coffee shop, or at dinner, that's where I'm going to be able to win business and build relationships. So I'm saving my energy for that. So during the day, I might be in the conference trade show because there's usually 3 or 4 attendees from our bank attending. We'll rotate. One of us is up in the room, maybe resting, relaxing, working on emails, working on deals on your laptop in the room. Then you come down later in the afternoon and you're a bit fresher to take on the evening, right? And then once the trade show lets out, everyone's at the bar or wherever they need to be, headed towards dinner, you're fresh. If you're sitting in the trade hall all day, you're going to be tired at the time it comes to go to a dinner. You're not going to be able to show up and be your best self at the moment that is pivotal for you to get that business and build that relationship. You're going to be like, man, I've been talking to people all day. I'm just ready to get back to my room. So you got to reserve your energy for the moments that matter most for you to get business is what I find. Some people can go just all out, all conference like Alan Peterson. Most people need to be selective with their energy outputs. So you have to determine, hey, am I a person that I like to get up and meet people for coffee and do all that early conference stuff and play pickleball in the morning and that's what I like to do and go to bed early? Am I a person that I'm at the bar and I'm just anyone that walks past, come have a drink with me? If that's how you show up, save your energy for those moments and not just try to use it, expense it the whole day.
And for newer BDOs who haven't been to shows yet, there are classes within the conferences. So when there's a 2-hour stretch of these brokers or anybody going from class to class to class, get out of the conference room, get a coffee, get a juice.
Take a nap.
Don't go drinking. Don't leave the hotel, or if you want to get fresh air, but you have those opportunities. You got to find those little windows to check your computer, check your emails, make sure your tribe is doing what they need to do behind the scenes, because it can be a long couple of days. Sorry, Alan, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say, like as far as preserving energy, a lot of conferences lend themselves to a variety of interests, right? I see it offered sometimes. Hey, meet us in an early morning wilderness stroll, or meet me at a 6 a.m. jog. Like, I haven't really
Did that.
partaken in a whole lot of that.
Me.
Yeah, that's you. And Ryan, to your
The
credit,
6
and
a.m.
you'll also be.
marathon. Yeah, the 6 a.m. marathon with Ryan Kroger.
I'm the guy that always puts on the message board about 2 weeks before the conference. Anybody want to get up early before the conference and go for a run? Now
Yeah.
you laugh, and a lot of people laugh, but I will tell you how many replies I get, and I'll usually have a small group of people who will run. And
Mary did that at
fun.
Transworld.
Mary did that at Transworld. Yeah.
She started talking about
That's
everybody.
awesome.
She was like, I'm going to go for a run in the morning. There's like 25 people that met her and did a 5K.
I think she did that at IBBA last year when it was in Orlando too.
It was IBBA. I'm sorry, not Transworld.
Yeah, it was
Yep, it was
IBBA,
IBBA. Yeah, that was impressive.
We
But
had
I was
a
like,
small group. It was
everyone's
great.
like, are you running? I'm like, no, absolutely not.
And that's important too. It's not that when you go to a conference, I think people assume you have to be at a bar all night, drinking a lot to get business and build relationships.
No, but you got to
Not
go to the
these
You
mixers.
don't have to.
You can go. You
No.
can go to the mixers, but you don't have to drink yourself.
No.
Under the table. There's other ways to build relationships.
Here's some advice for the young bucks. I'm gonna turn into a dad here for a second. Nothing good happens after midnight. Get back into your room, get back into bed before the clock strikes midnight. There's nothing going on. There's
Okay.
nothing good that's going to happen to you, happen for you. Just go to bed. Go to bed, hang out. Don't do it, man. Just
We
don't
say
do
that
it.
now.
I like when I like hearing you give advice that I know you don't take.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway,
I'm thinking the
Do
last
what I
three.
say, not as I do.
The last three conferences. I've seen
Ryan
it.
will be running at 6 a.m, but he will be at the center bar with good old Alan. I assure you of that.
Until
I'm
3 in
gonna
the
miss
morning.
the center bar. So that was gonna bring us into the next thing. What are some mistakes that you guys can make at conferences? And we all know drinking
Yeah.
too much is one
Yes.
of them because you're
Drinking
Getting
excited.
sloppy drunk. Getting
Don't
absolutely
do
sloppy
that.
drunk.
Don't-
Absolutely.
Don't get
Yeah.
sloppy.
Don't
Don't do that.
do it.
In many aspects of the show, not just the alcohol. Don't be sloppy at all.
Right. Don't be sloppy.
It will
period.
follow you.
Yeah, you're still in
And
a
everybody talks
professional
about it. Our
environment.
world is
Right.
small. If you make a mistake there at these shows, they will haunt
Everyone's
you.
gonna
It's
know.
not even a joke. We're not messing around. Mistakes will haunt you at these shows.
Yeah, all jokes aside, I mean, I've seen it before, and admittedly, early in my career, I was like excited, and I learned really, really quickly how long those days are when you have exhibit hall hours for 12 hours. And yeah, you're tagging in and out with your friends or your coworkers, your teammates. Fact is, that's a long day. And if you're going to be effective, you got to be sharp. And there's nothing wrong with hitting a club soda with a lime and still hitting the socials straight up.
Club
I mean,
Soda
Yeah.
Kings.
Right. Yep.
that's what you want to do, man. I mean, listen, I've seen conferences where you stroll in the exhibit hall and you see guys just absolutely collapsed at the table. It looks like they were out at White Castle till 3 a.m. or some crazy. You don't want to be those guys. What you want to be is sharp and ready to make a difference. And I'll tell you what, another bit of free game: go on Amazon, spend the money. If you can get, you have one, Ryan. You have the foldable
Oh, yeah.
keyboard and mouse
I got a
hookup
whole
that goes to
setup.
the
Yep.
USB.
Travel.
You can get the extra monitor
Separate
screens because
screen. Yeah.
working from the hotel room is not as effective as it can be. Those are two things that you can purchase. They're not as expensive as you might think, that make
Right.
all the difference in the world. I highly recommend that because you got to work from the room, man. You got to be up there cranking, or someone else is going to eat your lunch, and you don't want that.
Definitely not. Or when you get back from that conference, you might be gone for 3 days, but you got 2 weeks worth of work.
They're not just
Oh,
going to
yeah.
eat your lunch. They're going to beat you up and take your lunch.
Yeah, exactly.
Another mistake is, if you're going to the conference and you're not following up or assessing your ROI on the conference. I see that so often where it's like, well, gosh, I'm going to XYZ conference every year. Am I
Right.
getting business? You don't even know if
Yeah.
you're getting business from it, right? Use your
Right.
CRM, however you do that. Use it on a spreadsheet. Monitor your success with attending these conferences because you could probably allocate those resources elsewhere to a conference you do better at. And then if you're not following up, if you're not looking at that stack, and when I say follow up, it's not just one email. Hey, good to see you at the conference. You got any deals for me? It's like building rapport. Hey, good to see you at the conference. Can't wait to catch up. Let's schedule some time. Then maybe it's a phone call. Don't assume by meeting someone in one dinner and then an email after the conference that you're going to get all of their business. It doesn't work like that. It's got to be
Right.
continuous follow-up after the conference to build a new relationship.
And personalizing those messages because we get a
Absolutely.
lot of redundant, like vomited emails that just hit us that are just, you can tell we're BCC'd. And I'm like, it's not
and
good.
right now you're seeing so many different conferences start to pop up. There's brand new ones almost every single month, especially with, these younger entrepreneurs coming up. Be very careful about the ones that you select to go through, because a lot of them will be wasting your time. I've gone to several conferences where I won't go back. And it's not because of a lack of business opportunities, just because it wasn't in my wheelhouse. It wasn't something that it turned out to be something less than what I expected it to be. So, and I'm not going to get into any names of those conferences, but just be careful of the ones you get into. That's all. Do your research on them first.
That was going to be one of my next questions, were what are like some red flag conferences? Have you guys ever gone to them and you were like, this was a waste of money?
Yeah, red flags.
Conferences.
Too many banks in the room compared to attendees.
Yeah.
That's like a huge red flag. Like that happens, and I see that, especially in my role. Like this is a total waste, because I know that we're paying for whatever sponsorship on top of just attendees. I'm like, heck no, we're not doing this again. So that's a red flag. Bankers contend compared to attendees as well. Also, like the venue and location. There was one conference, I don't know if anyone here went to that one, but it was at the Great Wolf Lodge, which is basically like a Disney park in Texas. And we get there, Hannah's with me, and there's a huge swimming pool. And I kid you not, we're in our banker suits, and like there's a kid running past me with no shirt on, like just in trunks. He's crying. No, it wasn't Al.
I wish it was.
And they had the kids buffet of macaroni and cheese and pizza they served all day, and all the doors and sinks were like knee height. It was just a strange venue for a conference. So that was a red flag. And they've since moved the location, so now we actually go back. But I said, if it's here,
I wonder why
we're not ever coming back again. Yeah, that was a.
You're bending down 8 feet to wash your hands in the bathroom.
Yeah, it was just that was an interesting one. But
you can, a lot of times you can judge a conference too by where they're holding it. Now, obviously, Great Wolf Lodge, if it's in the middle of nowhere at the Holiday Inn Express, probably not going to have the biggest turnout you're going to want. But again, the overabundance of banks. A lot of times when you see these conferences, you're like, oh yeah, I want to check that out. I think I want to go. And then all of a sudden you see all the sponsorships are already filled up, and they're all financial institutions, and they're all big name financial institutions, some that aren't even in SBA. You got to kind of want to see if you really want to waste your time, because as much as you see all your competition go there, the referral sources or the potential business you see, they're going to see all those banks too, and they're going to be like, oh man, I don't want to be around all these banks. Pick and choose those too. It's not just you that don't want to be around those banks. If there's too many of them, more than likely the other attendees, they don't want to have to deal with them either.
Yeah. And look at the industry, right? Look at really, if you're going to get specialty in a trade show, make sure it's something you ought to be doing. I remember my first year on the bank side, SBA, I went to the Florida Dental Conference, right? And it was really good, but I remember I spoke to one gentleman there.
Florida Dental, isn't that an oxymoron? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
coming from a northerner.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, listen, it was pretty fun. There was a fire alarm at one point. I stood in the rain. It's a story for another time. But there was a broker there who dealt with practice finance, and I was just explaining the benefits of SBA, and he let me know very quickly that Wells Fargo will lend money to someone coming out of dental school at 3%, and please leave. No, I don't want your pen. But you know what? We still gave it heck. And that was at the Gaylord Palms in Orlando, and it was good. It's not that I'm opposed to doing dental deals, but that just didn't seem like it was actually my audience, right? So make sure that it's something aligned with what you guys really want to be bringing back home to your credit managers, to your approval authorities. It's just, I wish Sterling was on to tell you, not so long ago, self-storage penciled great with SBA.
Right. Not that long. It wasn't that long ago.
Not that long ago.
That's the beauty of conferences too. You get so many great stories with your peers and your referral partners too, that just last
unmatched,
like a lifetime too. So enjoy that. I know it's work. But also
Yeah.
you're there and it's a little bit of a release for you. Enjoy that, make memories with your peers and your partners too. So if someone asks you to go out to Top Golf, you're like, man, I want to go back to the room. Just go to Top Golf. As long as you're in and you're back home by, like you said, by midnight. You don't need to go to that extra stop after midnight. We all know where that
Especially
is.
if Chris is going to Top Golf, because his swing
Where does that
is
place, Alan?
horrible.
It's gotten better. It's gotten
I got a video. Anybody who finds me at CLBA, I will pull the video up for you guys last year at IBBA. I'll show you Chris's swing. It's awful. Come
Yes.
find us at the booth.
We'll
I can't
post
remember
it
the
on the
number.
channel.
I'm excited for CLBI.
Oh, it'll be nice to see a restructure. It'll be just see how it flows.
Right.
It's kind of sad. It's not in Vegas, but I get it.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you guys before we wrap up. You can either end with a last piece of advice or one of the best stories from whatever conference you went to, funny or bad. So, Alan, go. I know you got something.
We have to keep it PG, right?
Yeah, PG, guys.
So I was newly with the bank with Bay First at the time, First Home Bank, and I packed my luggage. I borrowed a suitcase from my mother, which was kind of a fuchsia with flowers. It had a broken wheel. I didn't check it, right, but it was my carry-on. And some guys that I was with, not mentioning names, Chris Hackney, they're like, dude, this is embarrassing. What do you got, ladies' luggage? But I was new, right? This is my first time. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm excited, and everything's going well. I'm in the taxi cab, and I get a phone notification. Hey, Chris, that big deal just closed. Hey, Al, congratulations. Go buy some new luggage.
Yeah.
I did, but I still have that kind of carry-on bag with a broken
Bring
wheel.
it back.
And you will see it again, just because a lot of people busted my chops about that. I'm not getting rid of it. But pack accordingly, stand out from the crowd, enjoy the camaraderie. Don't feel pressured to stay out late and all that nonsense. Be active, be engaged, and get an ROI. Because after all, if the bank's sending you there, bring them something back. After all, you're a shareholder, or you ought to be.
And not only that,
And don't leave your booth behind like Ryan did.
Oh my goodness! So yeah,
It's still there.
It's still there. It's still waiting there. Yeah, we went to IBBA last year, and there were quite a few of us from the internet, and we had it all set up, good to go. I had to leave the night before because my daughter had a track meet the next day, but apparently everybody else from our team had to leave really early as well, and nobody communicated to anybody else on who was going to take the booth down and ship it back to Indianapolis. So I remember I'm getting up, I'm taking my
Legend
daughter
has
to
it, it's still there to this day.
still hanging out. Jared actually got up super early, went down there after everybody else had left and nobody else had tore it down. He tore it down and shipped it back, but took a picture in this massive hall, and it's the only one still standing. The tablecloth, backdrop,
I think I have a
flag,
picture
everything.
too.
Only one still standing. But I was going to say it's good, like Al says, to stay engaged and to have fun, but also know when to disengage, when to not engage, because you are going to be there with your competition, and your competition is not going to be sometimes as polite or as light on the alcohol as you are. And so a lot of times it's happened to me. It actually happened to me back down in Kentucky. I had a competitor that I've known for a long time, just wanted to get loud and kind of abrasive with me. And I ignored and went to another BDO, and he kind of bailed me out of the situation, but it was very uncomfortable. So don't get baited. Don't get sucked in. Just take the high road, smile, laugh it off. And, that's why you're there with your other BDOs. They can bail you out, but know when to engage and know when to disengage. It's very important.
We were at IBBA. We that dinner that I was telling you guys about that we brought everybody out. I planned that dinner. I had months in advance. I had to book the venue, everything. I had to set up cars for people to. I get back and I'm like tired. We had been on our feet for 12 hours. We just had to entertain 25 people. I get back to the bar and Ryan was there and Chris was there, and this guy came up and he was like, "You didn't pay my invoice." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" I go, like right now in front of all these people is the time that you want to.
It wasn't that sweet. Speaking of taking the high road.
I was like, listen, guy, because I didn't know who he was.
The New York came out of you.
Yeah, it did. And
guy.
I was just like, listen, guy. I was like, what's your name? And I just like pull up the invoice. I'm like, paid 2 days ago. And then I just was like, I'm out. We don't work with that guy anymore. But my advice was going to be look sharp, regardless of what the conference is. Be nice to the coordinators. Get in with the people who are planning.
Emily,
Yeah.
socks or no socks?
No socks.
They can't be flesh colored. Okay, just make sure they're good looking
Color
socks.
socks.
She used to give her team the absolute business, specifically America's sweetheart Ryan Collins, the business about his socks. And he came up to me, he's like, bro, do these really look that bad? I'm like, dude, I'm not looking at your socks, man. I don't know what she's talking about.
I yelled at him one time because he unplugged our booth to plug his laptop in, and the whole thing like short circuited. And I'm like, I have an Apple store of a booth behind us. Like, if you touch it again, you're dead. I go, this was like a $30,000 booth. Yeah. Don't touch it. So number one, look sharp, be good on the floor, don't get wasted, and just have a good time.
Oh,
Chris,
and don't eat at your booth and spill yogurt all over your...
Yeah, no food at the booth, no coffee.
No food at the booth, leaving stains all over the place. It's not a good
Nobody
look.
likes that.
And nobody wants to
wants
talk
that.
to you when you're sitting here shoving your face in
Yeah,
the food.
it's a bad look.
Don't mind the fettuccine Alfredo anyway. I can do 5 days. You know what I mean? Like, who
Who's got
cares?
I didn't get any lunch. Hey, stand behind the booth.
Chris, what's your story and what's your parting advice before we end the episode?
Parting advice, just like you said, Emily, just stay sharp, be professional. You're still in a professional setting. You're there for work, so don't get sloppy. Also, build relationships. Don't be transactional. And then study your ROI. You're not just going to the conference to go to the conference. Have an intentional plan of who you want to meet and who you want to follow up with and how you're going to do that. Just going to the conference is not enough. So have that plan. As far as stories, there's a lender that I won't name. We went to a conference, just him and I. It was actually one of our first conferences together in the great city of Las Vegas. And I did not take Ryan Kroger's advice as far as staying out past midnight. But it started at a modest 7 p.m. at Totally Awesome Always.
That's what they all say.
Just a dinner for 2. And then the dinner for 2, the host says, hey, you guys had dinner. We can get you over into the club next door. VIP section. The other lender says, how much? Oh, that's great. That's reasonable. So we go from dinner, had a couple drinks, into this VIP section. It's just him and I. And then they say, hey, do you guys want some, people to join you in this booth? Absolutely. Why not? And then so
what kind of
look
people?
Yeah, what kind of people? Because it is just 2 guys.
Human beings.
Female people. Female human beings.
Oh.
There you go, Ryan.
And it wasn't the lender. I was
a little short there, bud, but you got it.
So then I look up and then they just keep coming to the other lender. They stop asking me because I'm very conservative and the other lender was not. Would you like more champagne? Would you like more bottles of, beverages?
Dollars.
Yes. And next thing I know, I look up, it's just us 2 in these banker suits and probably 30 people we don't know and lots of libations around. And
wow.
The next day we have a good time. And there's another story that I can't tell. I'll tell it after the camera goes off. But the next day we're on the way out and this lender looks at me and says, hey man, that tab was $9,000. Can you Venmo me half of that real quick? And I said, you think I have this in my Venmo right now? Like, what?
No.
Dude,
So yeah, that was the first time him and I went to a conference and we became best friends ever since. And we're not allowed to go to conferences, just the 2 together. And we pay that out of pocket, for the record. That was out of our own pocket.
If you don't mind me piggybacking off of that, I've got actually a similar story that just jogged my mind. This was at IBBA in Orlando as well. We were invited to an after conference, mixer at a bar, and Jared and I were walking there together. And so we go to this after hours mixer. It's in a VIP section at the very back of a bar, and they've got food set up, and there's a lot of brokers and other people in there. And it was a very bad vibe. Very, very bad. And a lot of stuff going on in there that you wouldn't expect at a professional setting. So Jared and I looked in, we looked around, looked at some of the people and some of the things that were going on. We looked at each other and said, nah, man, we could do this better. So we went to the manager and we said, hey, do you have another one of these sections like this that we can rent out for the night? Because we knew that a bunch of other people were going to come that we knew, and we didn't want them to walk into this mess either. So we set up on the other side of the bar, got several bottles of 1942, some appetizers, some observes, started texting people that were showing up, started coming over to our party, our after hours, our after conference.
Is this in Orlando?
Event. Yeah, this is in Orlando.
Oh, I was there.
Yeah, I know you were there. I was hoping you were going to remember. And so,
great.
yeah, and it was great. We actually had a really good time, kept it professional, kept the drinks going, kept the appetizers coming. And, that the other crew, I don't know what ended up over there, but the right people we wanted to network with ended up showing up in our area. And it ended up being a great night, great time, money worth spent. And just, it was really good. So don't be afraid to take over the spot either.
And you remember in Kentucky at dinner, we met those CPAs, Ryan?
Yes.
Remember those two guys? I'm actually going to Chicago to play golf with one of them on Monday. I just met them.
Get out of here.
At that conference.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that shows how, I'm following up and building rapport. And the guy's called me. He's like, Al, it's been a little bit, man, but man, I'm playing in a golf tournament where everybody's lousy at golf and they're just like you. Do you want to come? And I called Mark up, and Mark's like, dude, go. Just go.
Absolutely,
don't even worry. Yeah. So,
hey, next time you're going to Chi-Town, I'm only about 4-hour drive, man. Hit me up. I'll come out there and meet you.
Well, you drive 2 hours, but yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to golf with you guys in Orlando at CLBA. That is going to be
right.
a hoot.
That's going to be fun.
You guys got to find our polos. So,
I thought you were going to get us all matching shirts so we look cute and, shoot 20 under.
Yeah, it'll be fun. But I wanted to thank everybody for listening to this episode. I wanted to ask if you have a conference story or you have more questions about conferences, send your email over to the BDO show at Art of SBA, because we would love to just chit chat about maybe your experiences, how it's been on the road, or if you have any fun stories like we have, because we always love to talk about that kind of stuff. And if you have any questions specifically regarding what you can do to get ready for some of the conferences as we get into the season, shoot them over to either their LinkedIn, their DMs, or that email, thebdoshow@artofsba.com. And we will see you on the road.